Hello and welcome to a Live with Amanda. Today I'm going to be talking about my journey to working with couples. And so I have a confession to make. You see, I'm looking away. I was like, the shame is already coming up for no reason. And that I had no experience. Let's not even talk about very little. I had no experience in working with couples prior to taking on couples clients. And nobody forced me to do it. So it wasn't like I worked at a group practice or an agency where I was like forced to take on clients I was not familiar with working with. So just very quick, my background had always been in teens. I worked at a teen program called FOSI for my internship. I did my internship there, my practicum, whatever you call it. And then I went and worked at a juvenile justice program for, many years, only working with teen boys. So really, I didn't even have any experience working with adults at all, as a therapist, never had any experience. And really for a very long time. So from 2007 to 2013, when I opened up my group practice, my solo practice, 6 years, I had only worked with teen. Well, I had worked with girls too, because I worked at a girls program now that I'm thinking about it, but really it was boys. And so it was adult. It wasn't adults, it was kids. And so when I started my private practice, I was like, I didn't set out to say exactly who I was or wasn't going to work with in terms of my population. What I knew that I was good at is working with people with anxiety. And so most of the clients that came to me and what I marketed myself as was an anxiety therapist. And I saw adults and teens and children initially, and then I was on an insurance panel and for the hospital. And there were not that many people on that insurance panel. And I got so many clients from that insurance panel. I still have lots of thoughts about that insurance panel. They filled me up and they paid very, very low. But when I tell you, those clients were some of the most amazing clients, clients I still hold so dear to my heart. I think about them all of the time. Some will even check in with me every blue moon. So it's just funny to think about how sometimes your lowest paying panel is they were just such high quality clients, not, that any aren't, but they worked at the hospital and they were just, they could come during the day. They were invested in therapy. They lived close. It was just the perfect thing. I just wish they paid, now they pay way, way, way more. Way more people are on the panel, but back then, nobody was on the panel. And I just got so many clients. So the way that I got couples was because I got clients from there. And I just literally started working with couples. And I just literally used the skills. You see, I'm closing my eyes. The shame is coming up again. I just used the skills that I had, as a individual therapist to work with couples. I built rapport. I heard their stories. I gave them time to vent. I gave them some practical homework. I gave them resources. I didn't do any emotionally focused work. Okay. I learned that later. But what did I do? I really took what I knew being an individual therapist and brought that. I had them slow down. I had them communicate with each other. I had them talk about the thoughts that they had with each other. So in some ways, I was doing some of that connective work. I didn't realize I didn't know I was doing, but I gave them homework to do, right? My journey as a CBT therapist told me, give them homework. And I gave them a really safe space to be themselves. And I think sometimes that is just as important as things like the skill building that goes along with Gottman or the emotional connection that goes along with EFT. I think sometimes people just need that safe space because their home life is so chaotic or they're fighting so much, or they just really need a mediator. And so I just started working, and then I started to do the things you're supposed to do. I started to read the books. I got supervision. I did the trainings. I, listened to the podcasts and, talked to colleagues. And then I really started to immerse myself as a couples therapist. I never really fully embraced that, even though I was doing a lot of couples work, because I just know where I started. And even though I'm not trained in Gottman, even though I see really the value of Gottman, we train most of our therapists now in Gottman, but I just decided to do the EFT path from a supervisor that I had, somebody that I really respect. His name is Richard Global. He's a group practice owner in Boca Raton. And he was doing couples intensives, and I started doing couples intensives with him. And he really came from that emotionally focused feedback, or history. He told me to go do EFT. I did the externship. I loved it. It was really great. It really helped me become like a better partner, right? And to become a better couples therapist. And so I am not necessarily an advocate anymore of just starting to see couples. I do in our practice at Caring Therapists, we get people trained in Gottman first and foremost. I think having training, having some place to do supervision, and then practice. I mean, it really comes down to practice. And I'm going to give you my thoughts about being a couples therapist. But first, I want to thank our sponsor, TherapyNotes. So if you're doing couples work, you can use the electronic health record for that. If you're doing individual work, you can use the electronic health record for that. You can send assessments. They send reminders to clients. You can do your intake paperwork. You can do your insurance billing. You can really keep organized. And I think that's really important when you're doing couples work, is to be very organized, because you can be kind of split between two people in some ways. You have to remember like two people's stories and two people's lives. And if you're doing a lot of heavy couples work, you want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row. And so I'm a big fan of TherapyNotes. We use it for my group practice. We use it for our individual and our couples work. So I highly recommend you check out TherapyNotes for your electronic health record. So going back to being a couples therapist, I do think you need a really strong support system of other couples therapists that you are around and that you're talking about. Couples work can be very heavy. They scream. There are betrayals. There are affairs. There are lies, there are secrets. And even if you have a no secrets policy, there might have been previous secrets. Like, it's very heavy work. Not that individual work isn't heavy, but now you're holding two people's stories. You're holding space for two people. You are doing high conflict work. You are, you're having to referee. So I think having a place for supervision, having a strong support system, and continually getting training and reading the books and staying on top of any techniques around couples therapy is really important. But if you're not already trained in Gottman, EFT, Terry Real's work, like, get training somewhere, because I think it's really an important foundation for you to have. But I will say that you can use what you do in individual work for couples work. And that's what I really found, that it was the relationship between us and them that really was important. The same way rapport is the foundation for individual work, it's the same for couples work. And so if you do find yourself in a space where you are working with couples, this is new for you, you are scared, you have the skills, right? You have the therapeutic skills. You might just not have the knowledge of some of the tools that other other trainings provide, but you have the skills necessary. So I hope that this was helpful to give you a little bit of confidence to start working with couples, but I do think you need training, supervision, and support. I hope this was helpful. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.